On your left, number 7 on our Player of the Year leaderboard, and someone, if we edit things right now, he'd be going to the Players' Championship, is against Emma Handy, number 28, playing green-white hexproof. In fact, green-white hexproof, 2 stalwarts of Modern about to do battle here in round number 2. Handy will start off with a Wooded Foothills. Jessup on 6 cards, he will play a Gataxian Probe, and the secret is up as we take a closer look at Emma Handy's hand. A Horizon Canopy, zoom in, along with looks like a Daybreak Coronet. Oh no!
No!
Come on!
I was about to go in and talk a little bit about. For me, Emma Handy, I think maybe the hardest working player on the SCG tour, and has been really making strides both in her play and as a writer and a content producer. But then I just see that frickin' expedition.
It was a windswept heath.
And now come on, Andrew.
I thought we've been over this. No, we went over this.
Although there's a possibility here with the foil Wooded Foothills from Onslaught here that a sign could be borrowing someone's cards. I don't want to. It's not necessarily Emma's fault that this is happening, but we are where we are right now.
We are. All right, draw a card. Now my question, because I didn't get a great look at the hand, is there a creature there? That's the bigger question. And I also have to take a look at the deck list here to make sure there's a Dryad Arbor. Looks like there's 2. So could have found a Dryad Arbor if Emma wanted to with that Wooded Foothills. Excuse me, elected not to. This is a Windswept Heath, and there is a Core Spirit Dancer. So the answer is yes to a creature being in hand. And we'll take a look at the Core Spirit Dancer, even though it's not going to be alive very long thanks to Dismember. Now, some people like to play Core Spirit Dancer. Others like to play Sana Ledgewalker, as now here comes Inkmoth Nexus for just 1 piece of Infect.
Yeah, the ceiling on the Spirit Dancer is very high, but it is just something that can die in a deck where part of the point is your stuff doesn't die.
Exactly. There's a real risk with playing this card. Looks like Handy has 1 Infect, so we'll update that for you at home as she will untap and draw a card. Now, the trick here when you're playing Green Hexproof is, when you draw 1 creature, it typically lives. You don't have to draw another one. Well, that's not the case right now. An Expedition.
The upshot, though, is this is typically a matchup, the Infect side, that doesn't have a lot of spot removal in the deck. So you can try to run game with Spirit Dancer or Dryad Arbor and have that be your enchantment target. A lot of matchups where that doesn't fly in Modern, where they just have a ton of spot removal and you have to have one of your untargetable threats. In this kind of matchup, Handy does have the option of going to Dryad Arbor or something like that if she wants to.
Windswept Heath going to bring Handy down to 17. It is a creature, Glade Cover Scout. All right, it's time to load up Rancor. I believe Ethereal Armor, but I'll confirm. What that white enchantment is when you get a second.
So many 1-mana white enchantments it could be.
Yeah, it also
Spirit Link.
I think it actually is a Griff's Boon.
Griff's Boon. I was about to sarcastically say Griff's Boon. In fact, it is Griff's Boon.
Just 1 Griff's Boon here in Emma Handy's deck list.
Whatever she was able to find out of the draft leftovers.
Well, you got to enchant it with something. This will work just fine.
I wonder if Griff's Boon is potentially a little bit of a response to the Dredge deck becoming more popular, because that deck does flood the ground with a lot of blockers.
Got to get to the sky.
It's only 1 copy, so we're not talking, it's not like she's playing 3 or 4 copies, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was sort of the tipping point here.
There's a Horizon Canopy. Sacrifice that to draw just 1. Now, what you're on the hunt for if you're Emma Handy, it's the most important card of the deck. It's Daybreak Coronet. That's the big one. This is another Spirit Dancer. And just going to pass that turn back. Jessup will take a look at the Spirit Dancer yet again. Well, I can tell you, you don't want that thing to live. The card advantage can spiral out of control, but you can see very clearly what the problem is here for Andrew. He kept Inkmoth Nexus. 1, potentially 2. He doesn't have any colored mana, so all I can do is just pass the turn back over to Handy. So that's where we're at.
And Jessup can't afford a trade here, so he's got to hang back. You can see with Twisted Image in hand, but no blue mana, so unable to take care of the Spirit Dancer. And now Handy is going to be able to probably develop a pretty substantial advantage here.
Yep, Daybreak Coronet has shown up. It is, one could argue, the best card in the deck. Certainly a very good one, so this is going to be an attack for a lot of damage here as Daybreak Coronet. You can only enchant the creature if it has another aura attached to it, which we are satisfying that cost. Enchant creature gets +3/+3 and has First Strike, Vigilance, and Lifelink. Vigilance honestly might be the most important of the bunch, as Handy does play a Dryas Arbor and pass the turn back, because now Handy can play a little offense-defense in the air.
Yep.
And Andrew Jessup is all done here. Emma Handy's going to win game number 1 here over Andrew Jessup. Green-White Hexproof is able to steal game number 1 over Infect. So a bit of an upset there. I typically find that Infect is favored in game number 1, but that means both players are going to get to go to their sideboards and see what they're working with. So we will start with Andrew Jessup and his 2 Spell Pierces. He's got to dispel a Twisted Image, 3 Nature's Claim, a Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Dismember, 3 Kitchen Finks, a Wild Defiance, and a Dryad Arbor.
Definitely want the 3 copies of Nature's Claim here. It's the best interaction going on. I think you can also make an argument for for a little bit of the counterspell stuff, but I don't think I would go so far as to bring in the Dismember. I don't think Handy has enough creatures that Jessup can reliably target, but the 3 Nature's Claims, obviously a pretty big boon here.
On the other side of things for Emma Handy, it's 4 Leyline of Sanctity, a Path to Exile, 4th one's in the sideboard this weekend, 2 Seal of Primordium, 2 Suppression Field, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Gaddock Teague, and 2 Stony Silence.
The extra copy of Path to Exile is great here. I think you could probably bring in Seal of Primordium as well, but this will be light sideboarding. Most of Handy's sideboard for other matchups.
Now take a look at these sideboards here, Patrick. Now, of course, we're talking Infect versus Green-White Hexproof, but one of the things we're going to do all weekend long is we're going to take a look to say, hey, who's trying to be Dredge this week? And you take a look at Andrew Jessup's sideboard, he's got a Cage. That's about it. I don't really think you want anything else for that matchup. And then for Emma Handy, she's got 2 Rest in Peace. So maybe they don't care too much about the deck.
Well, Handy's making some effort here with the 2 copies of Rest in Peace. That's a real thing. But both of these decks are trying to do I'll win the game in 3 or 4 turns with a little bit of interaction and have that be the plan here. Jessup's plan for the Dredge matchup is I have Flyers, which might be good enough, unblockable creatures that should be good enough, and I'm a turn to a half turn faster.
Oh.
And if you're doing that sort of thing, then maybe you don't need to go, all out and have all these Grafdigger's Cages and all these ley lines, because your fundamental game plan is solid enough to be able to beat Dredge.
Well, you see what both players are packing here in their sideboard. Game number 2 will be underway here in just a moment as they are shuffling up. Let's talk weekly sales, shall we?
Always.
As it is Friday, it ends on Monday, and Patrick has got all the details.
So every week over at Star City Games, there is a new weekly sale. It goes live Monday, 11 o'clock Eastern time. Sale is up for the full week. And then next week, new sale. So you should be checking it out every week. Right now, 10% off all non-English singles. So if you're the type of person who likes to punish people in your multiplayer games or at tournaments with cards that they can't read, well, they're 10% off, so go knock yourself out. StarCityGames.com. Make sure to be checking back every Monday, 11 o'clock Eastern time. Find out what the new sale is.
The weekly sale, very powerful. This is I like to call that the Jerry Thompson weekly sale. That's one of his favorite weekly sales. We're going to learn a little more about, not Jerry, but Andrew Jessup, who has been killing it this year on the SCG Tour, but mostly during Season 2 of the SCG Tour, has the member of Team MetaGameGurus.com. He's 20 from New York with the 5 open top 8s, and it's a shock to me that there's no win there just yet, but there's going to be. We got to watch him grow and develop. He says he's the better of the brothers between him and Danny. I think we might see both of them at the Players' Championship this year, but I remember just watching him at Indianapolis, and we were both blown away by his play. I know Pete won. They're good friends. Not here to talk bad about Pete, but Andrew, well, he played a match there.
Andrew Jessup has become my response to the question, which I get not infrequently. Who is the best player on the SCG Tour who is not already a household name? So let's remove the Jerry Thompsons and Brad Nelsons and Todd Andersons from the world and just talk about people who are dedicated to the tour and maybe flying a little bit under the radar. My response is now Andrew Jessup.
Yeah, I think so too. It's been fun. Again, we've been doing this for about 3 years now, and I remember watching Andrew a long time ago. He's only 20, so I guess that means he was 17 then. That's weird for me to think that he's that young. He's a little bit older. But as he's worked his way up to age 20, this year has really been, to me, the year where it's like, okay, this guy's good.
Yep.
This guy's going to become a household name, much like we've seen with other players like Ross Merriam, Todd Stevens, and a bunch of other players. Household names, not only on the SCG Tour, but in Magic in general. And the results are going to start coming.
And he also just carries himself with the requisite professionalism, too. I talked a little bit about Jim Davis and how professional he's trying to make the elements of the team and the way that they engage with tournaments. Jessup, you never see, that was a game where he mulliganed, never had blue or green mana and just kind of died.
Yep.
You see, see no expression of frustration, no nothing. It's just on to the next game.
Like Attack Team Probe is going to reveal a hand here for him handy. It's a Hyena Umbra, Path Exile, Spider Umbra, little reach there, which is important in this matchup. Ethereal Armor, a Glade Cover Scout. Let's make it 2 armors and then just 1 land, which is important. Taps for both green and white. It's Horizon Canopy.
This is pretty close to how you would draw it up from Handy's side. There's a 1-mana creature and a bunch of quality enchantments and a Path to Exile.
Yep.
That's the recipe for this matchup.
What she's looking to draw right now is just a second land.
Yep, something where it allows her, especially something that generates white mana would be perfect.
Yes.
Then her hand's super efficient.
You know, the second land that she does not want is something like a Dryad Arbor. It'll work, but you're not excited about it.
Right.
Here's Noble Hierarch for Jessup. He's going to fall down to 17. A little breeding pool action. Must be nice to have colored mana this go around, as there is the Glade Cover Scout off the Horizon Canopy. So Handy falls down to 19, while Jessup will begin his second turn at 15. We will go back to Andrew here in just a moment. See what his second turn is able to yield. Noble Hierarch might be the best start for this deck, honestly. Provides so much as far as acceleration, color fixing, and we can't forget about the Exalted as well.
Yep. Does a little bit of everything for this deck.
There's Blighted Agent. So you're going to tap the Noble Hierarch, leave the mana available there for the breeding pool. And now we go over to Handy. She'll take a draw step.
Yeah, it looks a little unorthodox as a way of tapping if you're more familiar with standard play, but Jessup knows something could happen to the Noble Hierarch. You know, Gut Shot's a card, for example. The breeding pool, very unlikely that gets disrupted.
I love it. Get in there. Now the question, of course, is, 1, does Emma Handy have a second land? 2, if not, how are we going to use this Path to Exile? Right now, just going to pass the turn back. Jessup will draw. Here comes the attack. It'll be 2 Infect. That's a forest. This is another Blight Agent. Now all of a sudden, Path to Exile doesn't look so good.
Yep. Really bad news here for Handy. Missing the second land drop, and now her path is not worth a whole lot.
It might actually help a lot more than hurt.
And it's a big opportunity cost for her to leave up the 1 mana to interact here, because then with only the 1 mana in play, that's her whole turn.
Yep.
And Just is in a position where he can simply attack and keep passing back. So.
And if Henny doesn't do anything, I almost feel like she's forced to cast Path this turn, because if you don't do anything, you just got time walked.
Yeah, I don't think that she chose her line last turn by doing what she did, which is totally fine. That line might have gone south, but I don't think that she can afford to just untap and proceed.
Yeah. I'll do a basic check here for Andrew. Just 2 forests, I believe.
Yep.
No island. So Path to Exile does play the role of just awesome removal spell. Looks like second land. Nope, did not come off the top. Here's the armor. Here comes an attack for 2. And it looks like Jessup might be blocking. Maybe, yes. What do we have here? Okay, Mutagenic Growth. Makes the Blight Agent to a 3/3. That creature, of course, is a 2/2 with first strike, so goodbye. Glade Cover Scout. Jessup going to stay at 14, actually paid the mana for the Mutagenic Growth, and now Emma Handy is in a world of trouble.
A hand full of creature enchantments and 1 land.
Yes.
Not a great spot.
Jessup with a Mutagenic Growth. Beatdowns. Follow-up. I think of Vines of the Vastwood. Oh, yeah. That's actually going to be become immense. We're all done here. Andrew Jessup's going to win game number 2 here over Emma Handy. In fact, Green White Hexproof, they're going to game number 3. They don't take long, my friend.
No. That is a, from my perspective, a delight for covering Modern. The action is fast and furious for the most part. Games get over really fast.
I mean, you know what it means. It means you get to cover multiple matches.
Exactly.
I like that. All right. Well, game number 3 is going to be underway here in just a moment. So as these players go back to the drawing board, shuffle her up real good. Let's see. What do I want to talk about now? You know, let's talk about the StarCityGames.com YouTube page.
Cool. Let's go in.
You want to know why I want to talk about that? Because we have almost 100,000 subscribers, my friend. We're very close. We're actually doing a really cool giveaway about this. So you can find out more about that giveaway over at our YouTube page. But tell us about what we got on our YouTube page.
Well, you can subscribe today for free over at youtube.com/StarCityGames. We have archives of all sorts of stuff, website content, things pertaining to the SCG Tour, Versus Series, Archives, Commander Versus, Magic Online playtesting, Best of SCG Live, and much more. Again, youtube.com/StarCityGames. You can become a subscriber today for free. Get notified when new content is uploaded to the page. And we are approaching that magical 100,000 subscriber number. Congratulations to everyone involved with the page, and thanks for everyone for subscribing. And when we hit that 100K, there is a promotion of some sort coming down the pipeline, from what I gather.
Yes, from what he gathers. We're doing an awesome giveaway, actually. We'll have commercials about it all weekend long. If you haven't seen, you can certainly go to our YouTube page. It's also on our social media pages, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. But that's the StarCityGames.com YouTube page. As now we turn our attention back to the match, it means we're going to turn our attention to the player on the play. That's Emma Handy, number 28. Right now on our SCG Tour Player of the Year leaderboard. She's a member of Team Nextridge Nexus. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. This is a 24-year-old from Asheville, North Carolina. Has qualified for nationals or better in 7 different card games, can play any musical instrument in a rock band, and is a Lady Gaga enthusiast, which I can certainly approve of. It's been on the outside looking in, has Emma on a lot of opens.
Well, you can tell when we go back to the match here, we'll have her exact ranking. I think she's in the top 32 currently,
correct,
but not in the top 16. You don't get to the top 32 by having bad results. So a lot of day 2 finishes, still looking for that first top 8. But I don't know if there's anyone on the tour right now working harder at their craft than Emma is.
Got 9th with 4-color rally very early in the year. We've seen a lot of top 16, top 32 finishes. Just waiting to get into that top 8, but it'll come soon enough for Emma. Maybe it'll be with Granite Hexproof this week. And now Team Nextridge Nexus, a brand new team that has been built to play on the SCG Tour. We're going to find a player who you and I are pretty familiar with, and Tannen Grace on that team. Brennan DeCandio, who's a player we only see when we go to Florida because he lives down in the Orlando area, but every time we see him, he makes the top 8. He made the top 8 of our Orlando Open earlier this year that Tom Ross won. You and I did an Orlando Open last year that he made the top 8 of. He's a very skilled Magic player. He's just down in that southern part of the U.S. where it's tough to get to more Magic tournaments.
No, we're going to be going into the schedule here a little bit, but we got an invitational in Atlanta. We have an Open in September in Orlando, so he'll have a couple opportunities there. Get in on the action.
I'm very excited to see what this team's able to put together, and I love seeing teams kind of form anyway. You know, Team MGG is kind of running the show around here on the SCG Tour. You've got Team Card Hoarder trying to kind of one-up them, and now you've got another team here, Nextridge Nexus as well. So more teams forming, more teams developing, and making the tournaments and the coverage a lot more fun to watch. So I've greatly enjoyed it, and it's going to be fun, excuse me, kind of watching to see how these teams develop as they go. And
I love the camaraderie of it.
Same.
And I miss that. I was a member of Team Target, Team CMU Target back in my my earlier pro days about 12, 13 years ago, and it is a lot of fun to have people, seeing the same people, working with the same people, having people to cheer on when maybe your weekend didn't go well. I do miss that element of Magic quite a bit.
We're going to see who's able to take game number 3 here between Handy and Jessup in just a moment. I think we're going to see a pretty healthy amount of infect here this weekend. It just feels like, and I know we talked about this in the pregame show, it just feels like a safe choice. I'm not sure if it's the best choice, but it is a very safe one.
You know, maybe your matchup against Jund and Dredge is a little questionable, but how much of the room is that going to be at the end of the day? And in terms of raw power, I think Infect is Modern's best deck.
Yeah. They haven't removed anything from it yet. I don't know if they will. It's still sticking around right now. We're underway. Game number 3. It's a 1-drop. Oh, how slippery is that Boggle?
About to find out.
Yes, we are.
Right now, it's dry. The next turn might be slippery.
Well, we're going to find out because of the Gataxian Probe. Show the hand. Oh, that disgusting Expedition is back. Well, the Path to Exile, of course, Spirit Dancer and a Plains. So it still looks to be pretty dry.
Yeah, dry for the time being, but temperature can change fast. Humidity, big factor here in New Jersey.
Here's a Glistener Elf from Jessup.
We're near the swamps.
Yes, we are. Where the Slippery Boggle really likes to hide.
Yeah.
You see Jessup's going to fall down to 15 immediately, dealing himself a lot of damage to open up the game. Back to Handy we go. The play will be, of course, Spirit Dancer. So kind of the setup has taken place, and now the question is, okay, does she have the payoff to make either the Spirit Dancer large or the Slippery Boggle very large as we head back over to Andrew Jessup? He'll draw a card. Second turn of the game for him. Looks like he picked up another copy of Glistener Elf. Not sure if he has a second land. Don't have a great look at the grip right now, but we'll see how things do unfold momentarily.
Creatively, what is a Bogle? What's its creature type?
I don't know.
Let's get that up on the screen here. I want to see.
You need to know more about the Boggle, huh?
Yeah. A beast, okay.
Yeah, of course it is. It can be sacrificed to Ravenous Baloth.
Right, you can use it with contested glyphs.
Yep. Makes a lot of sense. Blighted Agent. The play there from Jessup. Let's see what we have here from Handy. All right, Ethereal Armor. Peel a card. Spirit Dancer getting bigger. Picked up another copy of Spirit Dancer. Beatdowns. Free power creature right now. No blocks here from Jessup. There is that Expedition. It's a Windswept Heath. Looks like just the Boggle's going to come in. Excuse me. I saw the Ethereal Armor tapped, so I thought the creature was attacking. It's actually just going to be the 1/1 Boggle.
And the enchantment isn't actually tapped. It's just for tracking purposes.
Correct.
Make it a little bit easier on the opponent there.
That's my mistake. I apologize at home as we head back over to Andrew Jessup. Another Inkmoth Nexus in hand here for Andrew. Looks like a copy of Become Immense as well. 2 cards in the graveyard for the powerful Delve spell.
Keep in mind, Handy can really only interact with this matchup with a couple copies of Path to Exile. And Infect has all sorts of trumps for that. And Jessup has a Blighted Agent. So Handy at this point kind of at the mercy of the quality of Jessup's hand. And you can also see her clock is just a lot slower than Jessup's.
Jessup will play an Inkmoth. Looks like he's going to fire up the Inkmoth he had before, and now it's time for beatdowns. Well, Handy says, bring it on. You got any pump spells? You know I've got a path. The follow-up, assuming there is one. Looked like there might be one from Jessup. Maybe. No. Don't see him think this long with Infect normally.
And this is a rough spot to be doing this because you are giving potentially a lot of information about what your hand is.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a Glistener Elf. Pass that turn back. Handy thinking sacrifice Windswept Heath? Thinking about it. On Jessup's end step. Remember, that Windswept Heath can turn into a lot of different things here. Dryad Arbor is one, Basic Plains is another, Basic Forest is another, and of course, the Temple Garden is maybe the most straightforward. And a Temple Garden it will be. It's going to enter the battlefield untapped, so I think we're going to see a spell in the end step.
Would not be surprised if this is a path on the Blighted Agent.
Okay.
At that point, Handy is drawing to a way to answer the Nexus or just an effect that gives her flying or reach to have the game mostly stabilized. But the Blighted Agent is the one thing that she can't effectively interact with otherwise.
Well, there's the path. You called it, and it looks like it's going to happen. So Jessup will search one of his basic forests, present his deck over to Handy. In the meantime, she will untap, start taking her turn. Looks like maybe a Glade Cover Scout was the draw. Not exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah. At this point, Handy would just like a pile of enchantments, start drawing a bunch of cards.
Yeah.
Looks like the leftovers on her hand right now, a land and 2 creatures.
Another Spirit Dancer. Oh yeah, slip on in.
Still dry.
it's a very dry Boggle. Just in there for 1. Jessup's going to fall down to 13. Yeah, it's weird. Green White Hexproof, it's kind of a weird deck. It's kind of an aggressive deck. I think it's more like a combo deck that attacks, but it does get some anemic draws like this sometimes.
Well, you know, you're mixing and matching, and sometimes You get all the salt and none of the pepper.
Yeah, especially right now.
Yeah. I believe last spell left in Handy's hand there, a creature that she elected not to play to keep up appearances, that the last card is a path.
Which I think is smart. Might of Old Croja. Well, Jessup is not afraid at all, I don't think. He says, I'm gonna try to light you up. Yep, another Might of Old Croja. If you have an answer, good for you. But Jessup, I think, is reading this situation correctly and says, I don't think you have another Path to Exile. And if you do, I'll probably be okay, and that is going to do it. Andrew Jessup is going to win this match over Emma Handy. 2-1. Infect will take care of Green-White Hexproof, and for number 7 on our Player of the Year leaderboard, and someone who's looking to go to the Players' Championship if all goes well this weekend. Great start, 2-0.
Yep, and you can see the problem from the Green-White Hexproof side of there. One game where Handy's draw really just never materialized, not enough enchantments, too many creatures, and then one game where she just couldn't interact effectively.
I do think that